So
You,
our first speaker is Stephanie Evans. She's only 17 years old and she has founded an organization called Seas of Change. They work on protecting marine life and the environments and educating the youth. That itself is amazing. But what's even better is Steph has been an ocean youth ambassador and spoken at several local and state parliaments. She's truly inspiring, and I'm sure all of you guys are going to love her. So, Stephanie, the virtual stage is all yours.
let's have a round for Stephanie Evans. Let's have a round of applause for Stephanie Evans.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for that introduction. That's very kind of you all. So if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to share my screen and give you guys a little PowerPoint presentation. So hopefully you guys can all see that. Let me know in the chat if you cannot see the screen. But yeah, hi. I'm very, very excited to be speaking to you all today. So I thought just to start off, we just go over what I am going to talk about today. So we have about an hour together. So I'm going to split that so that we have Q&A time at the end. So please be assured though that no question's a stupid question. I normally work with like really little kids who ask me like what my favorite dog is and oh, I like your hair. So like if you ask any question vaguely relevant, brilliant. So I'm going to begin by introducing myself and showing what I do and what I have done. And then I'll go through some of my key tips and tools for getting started. Then you will all have a chance to ask questions and advice regarding your projects. So at the end, you'll be able to either put your questions in the chat or you can like request to turn on your mics at the very end to ask questions or to say like, this is my project. Do you have any feedback on it? Because I work as a mentor for a lot of organizations. So who am I? My name is Steph. I'm 18. Don't worry, I turned 18 like 4 days ago, so it's okay. So I've just turned 18. I live in Sydney, Australia. School-wise, I'm in my final year of high school. I graduate in November and I'm aiming to study law at university next year. On top of schooling commitments, I also work a lot as a tutor and I run an organization, Seas of Change, which is what I'm here to talk about today. So I am the founder and director of Seas of Change, an organization that aims to raise funds and awareness for marine life and their environments. I started this journey when I was 10 years old as I really wanted to be a vet, but was too young to go to TAFE or uni. So for some crazy reason, Plan C became starting a charity. To this day, I still have no idea how that idea appeared in my head, but I am so grateful it did. When I started, there were no school strikes and climate change and environmental conservation was not associated with youth-led movements like it is now. So it was not the easiest journey. I decided to focus on an Australian marine mammal that wasn't already receiving a lot of funds like turtles and dolphins. So I chose dugongs. If you don't know what dugongs are, there are some pictures on the screen. That's me a couple of years ago with the dugong named after me. Her name is Stephanie. She's very beautiful. So in my opinion, they're quite cute. But they also might remind you of a manatee as they're both part of the same order, Sirenia. So after deciding that I was going to focus on dugongs, I asked my dad how to make a website. I did my research and then I published the site as Save the Dugongs. I then wanted to run a fundraiser, but wanted help from someone who had experience. I wrote to plenty of people asking for advice, including a family friend who replied with the typical, "You're too young, you can't be trusted with money. Get back to me when you're 21. That's still 3 years away from me. Although this was quite upsetting, I'm pretty stubborn. So after waiting, I actually ended up receiving a response from SeaWorld Australia. Their response wasn't generic. They, a legitimate, really cool organization, had taken the time to read a 10-year-old's letter and reply. It shocked my parents and teachers. SeaWorld offered me prizes for a fundraiser and I went from there. So that's how I started. Once I entered high school, I met my current team Seeds of Change has a full-time team of 4. These girls are incredible, and I am so very lucky to get to work with my best friends every single day. Eventually, I wanted to rebrand our work, so we rebranded to, I wanted to expand our work, so we rebranded to Seeds of Change in 2018, and we now have a focus on dugong, sea turtles, plastic pollution, and climate change, which we are looking to expand once we graduate as well. In addition, I'm extremely passionate about education, which is reflected through Seeds of Change focus on the power of education to empower youth to make a tangible change. I see education as an opportunity and an investment. I believe that education can open doors for us. It also allows us to help others, and it enables us to problem solve. And that is why environmental education is so very important to me. This notion is supported by our School Talks program, which involves us presenting at multiple schools and events in Sydney on a variety of topics related to environmental conservation, as well as global events over Zoom and live platforms. So some recent topics of ours at School Talks include plastic pollution, eco footprints, and how to lower our carbon footprint as individuals and as a school. Seeds of Change also runs a program called Ocean Views, which is where we interview other youth working within the conservation space to share their stories and advice to inspire others. You might even see you might know some of these people. They're on Instagram. This is Diego, and we've got Dyson there. You might have heard of them before. They live in Mexico and Hawaii, respectively. So some other highlights of the past 7.5 years include being an Ocean Youth Ambassador, attending Dr. Janet Langman's Dugong Health Checks in Queensland when I was 15, and getting a scholarship to attend the 2018 Ocean Heroes Boot Camp in Canada when I was 16. Separate from Seeds of Change's programs and initiatives, I have also worked with multiple organisations and spoken at events across the world. A few of my favourite organisations to work with are the Pop Movement, for which I've spoken at many events, and Irvis Foundation, obviously, for which I have mentored students within their programs, and recently Seeds of Change and Irvis signed a contract, a partnership earlier this year, so I signed contracts earlier today. So that's been really great to be able to pair up with such an amazing organisation doing amazing things. And then the third organisation, I have like 3 favourite organisations to work with, is the Ocean Heroes Boot Camp, for which I've been lucky enough to be a squad leader for in 2020 and again this year. So I get told very often how it's incredible how I do so much, etc., etc. But we all only see what people choose to present. I absolutely love what I do, don't get me wrong, but it is extremely, extremely time consuming. It is really difficult and it's really stressful. It also took me a really, really long time, about 5 years, to get to a place where people recognize the work that I did, and even longer to be appreciated for it. In the past months, I've won some really exciting awards in Australia. As you can see, there's some photos from the awards there. This was really unexpected and never a goal that I had planned for. And I know I was actually speaking to Dr. Ash from the Pop Movement. Like we're not at an age where we're looking for titles, and we're not at an age where we're looking for these awards and all of this. But I think for an organisation to step out and give youth awards and to give youth ambassadorship roles and all of that is amazing. It really says something about an organisation as well, because it helps legitimise us as a young people, because when we're conferencing with adults, it's not always the easiest thing. So just to have that legitimacy behind you, if it's like an award or working with an organisation, or like you've attended NatCon, like just to have something behind you is such a great thing. I actually never had a plan for what I wanted to achieve with Seeds of Change. It has always been a passion project. So for anyone who is looking at doing something similar, my advice to you would just be to follow your passion and see where life takes you. I'm the type of person to plan my entire life, but I'm so grateful that I didn't plan anything with Seeds of Change, as it wouldn't have turned out half as great as it has. Everything just arose from hard work and meeting new people and not burning any bridges, as each opportunity has sustained over time and grown with me. This does make answering the question of where am I going to go and where do I see myself in 5 years a little bit difficult. But I like that, and I like that it's grown with me and that I can't predict what's happening. I've got goals for it, but I can't tell you what'll happen because I know it'll be completely different. And I think that's a really exciting thing about working in this industry. So I hope that explains a little bit about me and my journey. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end, but it's basically been quite a crazy whirlwind. I skipped over a lot of things, so that is a really short snapshot. But before we move on to time, so I'll give you guys a few seconds to stand, stretch, grab a drink. If you have any burning questions, put them in the chat. I just don't want anyone's legs to get like sore from sitting down. So grab a drink or like stretch your legs if you need to. I'm gonna have a sip of water. Okay. So I hope that's given people enough time to stretch their legs. But now we're going to move on to some of my advice and I guess tips, some things that I've learned in this industry. And one thing that I really like is learning from everyone, no matter if they're like 50 and they've been in this industry forever, or they're 10 and they're just starting. Everyone's got something to contribute to this discussion. And I think learning from people's mistakes is so valuable, because why make the same mistake as them? If they've made the mistake, learn from it. Don't make the same one. You can make a completely different one. But it's a learning process for everyone. So I think it's really great to share our experiences and our advice and what worked for us. And I really like how collaborative this industry is. So let's start by taking a look at youth leadership. Yeah, let me know if you can't hear me properly, because I can like switch to hotspot if there's like a Wi-Fi problem. So what is youth leadership? This is, I guess, something that we talk about often. We were like, oh, we're all youth leaders, but come down to the nuts and bolts and how are we going to define it? So for me, leadership comes in many forms, and many of us have had at least one role requiring us to step up and lead. So maybe let us know in the chat below what leadership roles you have or you have had. Give some people some ideas of maybe what they can look at achieving as well. So you might have been involved in leadership positions at your school, in sports teams. I know there's a lot of young people running this event, which is incredible. So there's so many different avenues to explore leadership. But to me, youth leadership refers to youth taking a stand and claiming responsibility. It refers to us working with a team to organize collective action to reach a common goal. In the environmental sphere, this might look a little bit different. To me, it means that we recognize that there is an issue. Step one, there is an issue. We can't deny it. The science says it. So yes, we recognize there is an issue. We now understand the facts from the experts. This is a really great thing, like best thing to do if you're starting out. Educate yourself. It's hard to educate yourself because you have to be okay with being like, maybe I wasn't correct, and maybe challenging some of your views and ideas or what society's been telling you before. And sometimes that's really difficult, but we need to first of all recognize that there's a problem. And second of all, like we all are learning and we're all on a journey to learn as much as possible about this. And then third, we are all willing to create change and create action to ensure that the next generation can experience the same wonders of the ocean that we can. I think that's what brings us all together. So I guess some youth leaders that come to mind for me are School Strike, climate organizers, Greta Thunberg, Malati, and Isabel from Bye Bye Plastic Bags. The list goes on. You saw some in the Ocean Views, that pictures that I showed you before. There are so many people to look up to and aspire to be like or do something similar. So I guess then the question arises, can we all be youth leaders? So of course, you don't need to have a big platform. You don't need like, a massive 10,000 person organization behind you. Everyone has the ability to lead. However, we all lead in different ways. and we all lead for different causes that align with our passions. There is no limit to being capable of leading, and that includes age, experience, and skills. You're 100% capable of being a leader. So maybe put in the chat just to remind some people, if you can, what skills do you think we need to be a leader? Has anyone got any ideas? Maybe chuck them in the chat as a reminder for someone who's like a bit stuck. So personally, yes, empathy. That was actually my first one. Well done. So personally, I think we need empathy. I can't see any more, maybe we're just a bit shy. But some other ones that I thought of were organization skills, creativity. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an artist. I can hardly draw a stick figure, but we need to be creative in how we problem solve. If you're like creative in like the arty way, all power to you. Artivism is amazing. But we also have responsibility and passion and purpose and all those things. Yes, the art of persuasion, the art of rhetoric. Yes, that is a really big one and something that's hard to learn. It's a skill to learn how to use your words, especially when talking to adults. So I guess being a leader is great, and it's somewhere to start, or maybe it's the end goal, depending on where you're up to. Communication, drive. Yes, I love all these ideas in the chat. Well done. Yeah, I think for me, the one thing is just having that drive, and I guess that's what sustained me for so long. But the thing is, having that drive is great, but it's not going to sustain you if we just stop there with those skills, or we just stop there with knowing that we're a leader. So we, as individuals who want to make a difference for environmental issues, need to find a cause that we are passionate about. Otherwise, having all those skills or being a leader isn't going to get us anywhere. Finding your passion sounds easy. However, at times being really specific so that you can create a goal is hard. If I could, I would try and solve all world problems, but it's probably not the best way to spend my time. So for me, my passion comes out of love. I love the ocean and marine life. And I've always been amazed by how different the oceans appear when I'm snorkeling. I also find my passion from a sense of injustice. I guess that's why I want to be a lawyer. I understand the negative changes being made. I understand that the negative changes happening have been caused and catalyzed by human inaction. And I want to break that cycle so that all generations will have the ability to enjoy our oceans. So that is how I find my passion. And I think that's a really great thing. Yes, I'm passionate about the oceans, but why? Find your why behind it. So from identifying this and educating myself, I realized how passionate I am about education. As to me, this is the way that I want to make change, and the way that I think is the starting point for everyone, and something that I want to be making change within. So if this is still something that you are unsure of, take a moment to think. You can take a moment now or after we're done, but take a moment and think, where does your passion come from and what are you passionate about? And that'll drive you to find your cause as well and your why behind all of this. So now we are all on our way to knowing exactly what our passion is. This will allow us to take out leadership roles that achieve a goal that aligns with our passion. But what does this mean? This actually leads us to our purpose. I have been on this journey for 7 or 8 years now, and it is not all easy going. To truly fight for what you believe, you need a purpose, because otherwise, when you are burnt out, it will be too easy to quit. After about a year on this journey, I took a break. I didn't have a clear idea of what I wanted to achieve. I didn't know what I was working towards. And I think I might have just burnt out. I was moving into year 7, starting high school, and it just wasn't, I never had a plan, but I didn't have this clear why behind me, I guess. So this is what we don't want to happen. I got back onto the bandwagon after a few months because I had time to rethink what I was doing and realign with my goals. I think also starting at such a young age, I was bullied because of running a charity. I think when you do something a little different, go against the grain, you receive some backlash. So I guess for me, not having that clear purpose, being quite young, bullying, moving into high school, that's what I guess made me take a break for a little while. So to avoid this, I guess, make sure you think, have a think about what are your goals, what is your purpose, and what inspires you to make change. And also, I don't tell you about the bullying to scare anyone. I am so grateful that I've done this. I do not know what my life would be like without this. But I think I didn't have a brilliant team or support network around me, which is something that I'll talk about later. So that would be my advice to avoid that. So now we have our passion and we also have our purpose. But the next thing that as youth we need to find is we need to find our voice so that we can raise awareness and amplify our action. For me, I am not very outgoing. It probably seems otherwise in a talk. I have actually never liked public speaking. However, I have never ever had an issue talking about oceans or my work or something like that because I care so much about this issue. I'm so passionate about this issue. I want to raise my voice and I want to create change. So I didn't let that lack of confidence stop me. And that's why you've got to do all of those steps before and then find your voice. Because if you're building up on that, your passion, your purpose, then finding your voice is going to be a lot easier for you. I also think what helped me most, and I'll come back to this always, was educating myself. So for all of you, this is easy. You're all at NatCon, you're all taking a step into educating yourself, working in teams. So yeah, just grab hold of as much knowledge you can because this opportunity for you guys is amazing. And I wish an opportunity like this had been presented to me when I was younger. So as I said earlier, educating ourselves means that we know what we are saying is true. We know that it is supported by science. And this is also helpful when we receive backlash. It is inevitable. Not everyone's going to agree with us. This doesn't mean that everyone needs to be a public speaker. It just means that you need to find a platform to share your message in a way that you feel most comfortable. This may also require a bit of courage. So for many, this is social media, joining other organizations, etc., etc. So as youth, we already have boundaries, I guess, put in place for us. We already have boundaries put in place as we are often considered uneducated, and it is uncomfortable for people to learn new things and have their beliefs challenged. So finding a voice when this mindset is so common is not easy, but this is where your passion comes in. The key tool in activism is not education or organization, it is hope. To succeed, we need to have hope. We need to believe that there could be a better day. And I truly believe that as we grow and focus on our passions, we can all find our voice and work together to achieve change. I want us all to dream big and not let society box us in. There are so many ways to create action and raise our voices, and I can't wait to see what everyone comes up with. So now we have our passion and our purpose locked in. We are trying to find our voice. So what do we do when we are faced with challenges? In my opinion, there is no age limit for making a change, and I truly recommend all of you to take every opportunity to learn from others and networks so that you can pursue your passions. However, unfortunately, some people do not share this mindset of youth being able to make change. Oftentimes, we are ignored because we are uneducated, or we're considered young, or people think we don't understand how the real world works. Our opinions are different, etc., etc. These are all false. Please never let anyone tell you this. Anyone working in the environmental field will face challenges, but as youth, we get faced with, I guess, more, and we get faced with unique challenges due to our age. And it is so upsetting and it's so frustrating to be downgraded due to your age. And I have been on the receiving end of many nasty comments from adults. But in this process of activism, you will grow a thick skin. But you also need to have the mindset of not letting one person's uneducated opinion put a stop to your work, because your work is completely backed by science. One way that I've learned how to think of it is if adults really need to bring us down, if they really need to say nasty things about our success, then we actually have made an impact. We got them to think, we challenged their beliefs, and that's a good thing. We're planting that seed to help them maybe make that shift or change later down the line. So this doesn't mean that we sit around and believe that we are the most educated. We always need to have an open mind and make ourselves comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the great thing about youth. We normally have quite an open mind when it comes to issues. We need to constantly learn from others and challenge our beliefs when necessary. So I guess those are like my top tips on how to start, but now my tips for how to continue. So we've got like, we started, how do we keep growing in this? What's going to help us out? So my first tip is to work in teams. When I started, it was just me and it was a bit lonely. But now I work with 4 people full time and have others who volunteer as needed. This is great as it enables us to bounce ideas off each other and look at things from another's perspective. It is also really motivating to work in a team as it makes us all accountable and we get to see that others share the same passions as us. It also means that we can shift the workload if someone's going through a tough time or we've got a bigger workload at school, and you have that community support. So if you do get backlash, you've got those people to come to and it's not just individual. I am also so grateful for my parents because when I was 10 and I said, hey, I want to start a charity, they said, go for it. And I don't know many adults who would have said, yeah, sure. But my life would have been so different if they hadn't. I'm very grateful for that. So I think that just goes to show that having a support network around you that is separate from your team is also very important. So because I'm really passionate about education, I thought I'd just throw in some quick tips about educating. So first, how to educate within a classroom. I would say be aware of your audience and tailor your activities, language, and pictures for that. Year 1 versus year 7, completely different. Allocate Q&A time as this is the most valuable for participants. Speak clearly and in an engaging manner. Remember that young kids won't sit and pay attention for longer than 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Move around on stage, be interactive, get them to put their hands up or play a guessing game, but don't get young kids out of their seats for short talks. It is way too hard to get them singing back down. So, educating at school might not be everyone's vibe, but what about if we wanted to just educate elsewhere and we're not in schools? So my top tips for that are don't pick fights with people. It won't bring them to your side. It will just put them on the defense, and that's not what we want. So be aware of your language and your tone and remember to educate with kindness. Growth does not come out of any other place. Don't waste your time on people who aren't going to change their mind. It is a waste of your time and your energy. Instead, start with people who are on the fence about the issue, as they will be the best to educate. Will also give others time to develop a more open mindset so that you can speak to them later on. In addition, remember that humans are selfish. If you are struggling to get your point across, make it selfish. Climate change, everything has drastic effects on that ethically we should want to change. Yet it also has so many effects on our livelihoods that may help to bring others into your cause and then interested in those ethical issues. If you are speaking to others, think first. You will probably underestimate just how impactful our emotions are in influencing and educating people. So that comes into that public speaking and using our voice. Be aware of your words and choose them wisely. So an example, I never truly understood the power of youth voices until a few years ago when I spoke at my local government meeting in support of a motion to declare a climate emergency. Instead of overwhelming them with fact upon fact, I chose to share my thoughts, emotions, and fears. Among other things, I shared the IPCC predictions, which state that by the time I'm 27, climate change will be irreversible if we don't act now. I told them that at 27, I'll probably want to start a family, but that my children won't be able to marvel at the Great Barrier Reef like I did with my parents. They might not get to see all the animals that we get to see. Food security and natural disasters will threaten their every move. And that's not what I want for my children. And I don't want that for anyone. I don't want that for anyone now or in the future. After this 3-minute speech that I wrote the day of, I managed to receive a standing ovation and bring many in the rooms to tears. Safe to say the motion was passed. So I think this just goes to show that, and there's so many stories out there like this, but this just goes to show that our age, although a challenge, is our point of difference. It is a gift. We hold such an emotional pool that we can truly use to our advantage. We have the capacity to not only relate to our peers and work together on that level, but to encourage those older than us to act too, as most would morally want to do right by their children and grandchildren. Some final tips. I'd also recommend you find those organisations that genuinely support youth action and want the best for you, not to just make you a show pony for their work. For me, that has been the Ocean Heroes Bootcamp team. All the squad leaders, our friends, the team behind Ocean Heroes Bootcamp is wonderful and so supportive, and they genuinely want to help us succeed. As I said before, I also love this foundation and the pop movement. Get involved with them. I could not stress enough how awesome. Like, there's a reason why these are my top 3 favorite organizations to work with. I cannot stress enough how amazing they are and how rare it is to find an organization like them who are purely for youth and is wanting to boost youth and to help youth. Finding that is not always easy, but once you find it, it is amazing. Keep it, stay with it. So you're at an event like this, you get to meet all of these people. So you might also be able to find out about some other ones that I don't even know about. But I'd really recommend finding those like-minded people because that'll help amplify your voice. My final tip is to support each other. We are also very lucky to live in such an interconnected world. One positive that has arisen from COVID is how we can connect online from all corners of the world. As youth are typically more au fait with technology, we can spark these international responses from our bedrooms by using social media and collaborating. We can use this to our advantage to reach out to others and ask for tips and advice. So often people try to run their own race and be competitive, forgetting that we are all working towards the same future. Networking is so undervalued. There are so many amazing people attending this event. There are so many amazing organizations supporting this event. And I'd highly recommend you reaching out and saying hi, because you might actually end up working together in the future. I know that sounds scary, but I personally love when people message or just to link up or to ask for some help. I'm always happy to answer questions and help people out on their journey, and I'm sure everyone else would be as well. So please never be scared to reach out to anyone. So that brings me to the end of my talk part today. We've now got plenty of time as promised for Q&A, so make sure to pop your questions into the chat, or you can if you put your hand up, there's like a hand up icon thing. If you put your hand up, you can request to turn your mic on and ask your question verbally if that's easier for you. And also, if you think of any questions that you want to ask later or you don't want to ask it in front of your friends, my contact details are all on the screen. Please don't be scared to reach out. I don't bite. I love hearing from everyone, and I would be more than happy to help you out on your journey and to support you in this industry. So that is all I have prepared for you guys. Does anyone have any questions? I think we have about 20 minutes to go. If you have any questions,
Shaurya, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Everybody can unmute, so like questions.
My question was that is the organization only for a particular sea animal or the whole marine life?
My organization?
Yes.
Yes. So it started out as only for dugongs, but we've rebranded. So obviously Save the Dugongs wasn't the best name to expand under. So we rebranded to Seas of Change. So now it focuses on sea turtles, plastic pollution, climate change, dugongs, and then we're hoping to expand. I can't tell you what animals we're working on, but we're hoping to expand once we graduate. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, definitely more. And I think without specifying an animal, I think climate change and plastic pollution affects so many other animals that I guess, yeah. Yes, so thank you for the questions. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Summer. Do you plan on expanding your team of currently 4 members? I would love to expand my team. I love my team right now. They are my best friends and I love working with them. I also am very lucky to work with the Ocean Heroes Boot Camp and the Pop Movement and Earthers Foundation. So I guess in that way, I get to talk to a lot more people and work on different things as well. I would love to expand my team. We also have lots of people who write blog posts for us. But yeah, so I would love to expand. I don't know when that will happen, but yes, I think there was a couple of hands up. Who has a hand up?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Siddham, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask, what was your first action on the field? I might have not heard it, but what was your
Yeah.
first on the field?
So I think like my first action would be running a fundraiser. I had prizes donated from SeaWorld Australia, and I ran a competition. And it was at my school. Trying to remember, it was a long time ago. It was at my school, and we like separated for a year group. So there was like a prize for kindergarten, a prize for year 1 to 2, a prize for year 3 to 4, a prize for year 5 to 6, and they all had something they had to do. And it was like a gold coin entry. And then the top people who were chosen got the prize, and the prize was like a VIP pass to SeaWorld and everything on the Gold Coast, which was incredible. That they like just gave that to a 10-year-old to give out as prizes. So that was amazing. So I think that was like the first thing that we did. And then running more fundraisers, and we donate to Dr. Janet Lanyon, who's the top G1 researcher in Australia, and we donate directly to her so that we're bypassing some organizations like to take money out when you donate. So we bypass all of that by donating directly to researchers. I'll call on someone else.
I also had another question on that question. Should you start with awareness or action yourself?
I think everyone needs to start with awareness in the sense of you need to be educated to do something. If you don't know what the problem is, it's really hard when you hit backlash to then be like, oh, I need to defend myself. How do I defend myself right now? So everyone needs to start with awareness. I have worked in political, I've worked in like awareness, which is like sort of like individual action behavior. I haven't really done the business side of thing, but educate yourself and then choose where you want to go with that, whether that is, I want to do a specific action or I want to work on awareness within my community. Find what's a need within your community and then what you're passionate about. But I think finding that comes from awareness yourself. But thank you for your questions. Someone in the chat has said, why did you choose this particular problem? I guess there's a lot of problems that I think education, my mom's a teacher. I've always grown up with education. Knowledge is power. I love educating. I've worked as a tutor. I taught robotics since the age of 10. It's always been a really big thing for me. So that's why I chose education. I also, my mum grew up in the country and I used to hear these stories all the time of her with these animals. And I've always had dogs. I have 2 beautiful dogs and like 50 fish in a big tank. So pets and animals have always been a really big thing. And then I live 5 minutes away from the beach. So I guess all of that combined into why I chose this particular thing. I also don't see why people wouldn't want to. I don't see why it's controversial to ask for safe water, food, location, all of that. That shouldn't be controversial. So I guess that's what comes into it. Ishani, Roy, would you like to ask?
Yeah, I would like to ask, if people didn't have the opportunity to educate themselves, but they still want to make a difference, what would they do?
Well, I think if you guys have access to the internet, which you all do, you have the opportunity to educate yourself. I am still in high school. Like, I don't have a university degree, but like we have Instagram, we have like all of the websites, you can Google things. Like, we all have the ability to educate ourselves by just reading articles and all of that sort of thing. So I think like that thing. But then also, if you're wanting to, I guess education in another way to perceive education is like, we don't have the ability to like join a big thing. So if you want to start out, but you're not sure where to start, link up with an organization that's already started. There's no use reinventing the wheel if you don't need to. So you've got some great organizations that have partnered on this. You've got the Pop Movement and Earthers Foundation. So link up with others as well would be my recommendation, and just start small. As I said, never had a plan. Just let it go, see where it goes. So good luck there. If you need any help, message me because I'd love to help out. When you first started, is it best to start alone or with a team? I started alone and I now have a team, and having a team is the best thing in the world. It's like my baby because I started very young, and I'm like, I've been doing this for almost half my life now. So I guess sharing that with people was like hard because it's like my baby and I love it so much. If you have the opportunity to start with a team, when you're choosing your team, they need to be really reliable, really passionate people who have the same values as you. If you have the opportunity to start with a team, do it. It is amazing. Could not recommend it more. Okay. Have you watched Seaspiracy on Netflix? I have not watched Seaspiracy on Netflix, and I'll tell you why. I have a great chat with all of the Ocean Heroes squad leaders, and we were all talking about it, and they were saying it's great to start the conversation, but it missed a lot of key voices, and it missed, it could have, I guess, posed some organization in a better light. So I made the decision by reading all of the articles online and all the reviews to not watch it, because that was something that I was already educated on myself, and I thought missing out on those community voices, because fishing is also like really important for communities as well. So that was my personal decision. I think it's a great thing to start watching, like to watch all of those things, because they're great for raising awareness, but don't stop there. Keep moving, Google it, fact check everyone, that sort of thing. How should you start raising awareness about the problem? That is completely up to you. So find your niche, find what you love, find what you want to do, and then find also what your community is like lacking. I've done it in so many different ways over the past few years. You've got social media, blog posts, events, fundraisers, etc., etc. There's so many different ways that you can do it. Find what you want to do and what you're most passionate about. There's no one way to do it. I know so many people in this industry, and not a single one of us do the same thing. We're all working towards the same cause, but none of us are doing the same thing. And that's what's so great about it. You said you had a website when you were younger. Is it still active? If you have one too, yes, my website is still active. I will chuck it in the chat. seasofchange.com.au. There we go. Oh, hang on. I did that not to everyone. Sorry, it's rather hard to multitask on this. I will put my, there you go. Sorry to whoever I private messaged that to. How did you get interested in it? I think I already answered the interested in marine life. I live near the ocean. I love animals, that sort of thing. So is knowing more about the cause you're passionate about important? Yes, obviously we all start somewhere. And when I was 10 and I started, I did not know as much as I know now. And that's the nature of it. And I don't know, I know like 1% of the, probably like 0.0001% of what you could know. And I love learning and constantly learning. But to start, know what you're talking about. Do you have a question? You put your hand up. No, maybe not. Okay. How did you? Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I'm an organizer, but I have a question. So with in India, the lockdown situation is still pretty bad. So what do you think people can do from their home itself?
Yeah. So I've been watching the Indian situation, and I'm really sorry for everyone there. We've been thinking about you. Fun facts, I'm actually in lockdown at the moment. I haven't been able to leave my house for like 2 weeks. So you can do it from your bedroom. I've had so many plans cancelled and so many events cancelled in the past couple like year or so because of COVID. And that's just the way it is. And we have to adapt and we have to move forward because we don't have a choice to do otherwise. So having online events, best thing ever, best way to start. Zoom, amazing. Find those online platforms that you want to share your message on, websites, Instagram, blogs, whatever it is, and connecting over Zoom and all of that sort of thing would be my recommendation. You can obviously, once we get to that post-COVID world, do so much else. But in this space, I think virtual events are a really great way to do things. And as an organizer, I think we should be very proud of this event because it's pretty amazing. Do you think with this rate you will be able to bring about a change in the future? I would like to think that I have brought about a change. I have spoken to thousands and thousands of young people in my couple of years focusing on education. And I think that brings about a change. You can plant a seed on their heart and start that spark. Fundraising makes a change. Dugongs are one of the most under-researched Australian animals. So just having the funds to be able to research them is incredible because we know so little about our oceans, and that's something that we should be wanting to learn more about. I think as youth, we're getting to the stage where our power is being recognized and our ability to make change is being recognized. And that is incredible. So I think we are definitely getting to a stage where change is being made. We're not at, will this happen? It is happening. We are making a change. Don't underestimate yourself. I know in Australia, there was a court case recently run by a group of youth to see if the environment minister had, it was like, do they have a role in protecting youth from climate change? And it came out with yes. And that was such a big thing to have recognized in law that our government needs to protect youth from the effects of climate change. And that's just one example of what youth have done. Sorry, there's so many things in the chat. Nowadays in the virtual world, there are lots of ways to spread awareness, but what methods can you use to raise funds? We over online have raised funds by, you can see these earrings that we wear. My aunt makes handmade earrings. So we sold handmade items and upcycled items on Instagram. Just like DM us, we'll send you our bank account details, you can transfer them through. I do admit it's hard to raise funds online when you're under 18. I turned 18 4 days ago. It's not easy because it's hard. You can't really get a bank account, you can't get PayPal and all of those things that you need. You can use like GoFundMe and all of that stuff, but I think it also depends on your community and how that works best for you. Which was the first animal that you rescued? I haven't personally rescued any animals. I have only just become old enough to do a single rescue course. I have visited a lot of animals. So the first, I saw a dugong in the wild for the first time when I was 15. I went on a research trip with them. That might be what you're referring to as like rescuing them. Females are not allowed to catch the dugongs because they're very, very big and they give you concussions. But I was there and got to help take samples and do all the stuff there. I've also visited the Australian Seabird Rescue, who rescues turtles and pelicans and everything, and seen all of them. That was quite amazing. The plastic pollution situation in Australia is not ideal. I don't think the plastic pollution situation is ideal anywhere in the world. Our beaches could be cleaner. And I think it might not be as bad where I live because we live so close to the beach so we can see it. I think inland it could be worse, I don't know. But government-wise, policy-wise, needs a lot of work. How have you been able to make change outside of Australia? As I said, I have been extraordinarily lucky to work with lots of, I will come to the three hands up after this, don't worry. I've been very lucky to work with lots of global organizations. So I've worked with the Pop Movement, Urbis Foundation, Ocean Heroes Boot Camp, which is run by Lonely Whale and Clapton Planet Foundation. Last week, I spoke at a conference for a bunch of Americans, like so many things. So I think that's my way currently of making change. I can't fly anywhere, I can't go anywhere, online virtual conferences, but also websites, social media, we have the ability to educate people globally as well. So first person on my screen with the hand up is
okay, I think a few people raised their hands, so we'll do that.
Pardon?
I think some people have raised their hands, so we'll go there next.
Yes, I've just asked someone to unmute.
Yes, Mihir, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, that was me. Sorry. So one of the things which me and the other organizers love to complain about is how climate change is sort of taught at schools, because we learn about all the facts and stuff, but I think they keep repeating it to the point where a lot of people just stop caring. They become desensitized. to the effects of climate change. And so I was just wondering, you've been raising awareness and helping out many causes for years now, but how do you keep it fresh is sort of what I'm saying. How do you keep people interested? How do you sort of make sure that people begin to care enough about climate change to actually do something?
Yeah, I think that's like a very hard thing, I guess, to find as well. And also it's great that you are learning about climate change at school, because I have never learned about climate change at school unless it was a project that I chose to do. So that is great. It might be repetitive, but at least we're starting. We are nowhere near as much as we should be for climate education globally, but we will get there eventually. I think I have the advantage of coming into a school where I'm not the school teacher. I'm not the person you see every single day. I'm not coming in and it's like, oh, Miss is going to tell me again. I'm coming in as someone who is your age or close to your age, who is very passionate. I can walk around on the stage. I can play games with you and do all of this stuff and answer everyone's questions and also share my experiences, because personally, I find a talk or education way more engaging when someone can come in and say, oh my gosh, I did this, and like give people something to aspire to as well. So I guess that's sort of how I keep it fresh. I keep my information up to date. I have an amazing one of my team members. Her name is Mel. Incredible graphic designer. She makes all of our PowerPoints. She did not make the PowerPoint today, so I'm sorry if it wasn't that great. But she makes all the PowerPoints for schools and educating, and she also makes all of our Instagram graphics and all of that stuff. So having colorfuls and colors and being engaging and having like graphics and stuff is also a great way. I focus a lot on young kids, so that also helps with like games and all of that. But I think when you're coming into a school as someone who's not normally at a school, it's easier to get people's attention. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Let me know if I didn't. Next person, I see that you've unmuted yourself. What is your question? Ira?
How much plastic pollution can you reduce in a month?
How much plastic pollution? I have no idea. That is completely an individual thing. We as individuals eat a credit card worth of plastic each week. How much plastic you can reduce each month, completely up to you. My challenge to you guys would be that it is the 18th of July, and it is currently Plastic Free July. So Plastic Free July, if you have not heard of it before, it's a great organization that encourages people to go plastic free for the month of July. Or if you don't want to go plastic free for the month of July, start somewhere in like getting rid of like the top 4 plastic items, so straws, bottles, bags, and coffee cups. So like stopping using those, starting that challenge, but that is completely individual to how you want to do it and what your circumstances are. Have you ever felt a connection with one of the animals that you've rescued? I love my job, so my job is my favorite thing to do. I say job, my volunteer job. So like any photo of me doing this is when I look happiest. It is my absolute favorite thing to do in the entire world. So I guess getting to see animals rescued and healthy is so exciting, but it's also really upsetting because unfortunately some of the turtles that I have met have passed away because of human what's happened to them because of human actions. So I guess you have that connection. The dugong that was named after me is also very special to me because I've always wanted to work with dugongs for so long. There's actually not many dugongs in captivity in the entire world. There's like maximum 4 dugongs in captivity in the entire world. But in Sydney, at the aquarium, there's actually a dugong, and his name is Pig, and he is the funniest thing ever. He is not in captivity for any reason except for the fact that he was rescued, released, and then re-rescued and can no longer go back into the ocean, otherwise he will die. He doesn't have the skills, he just doesn't function the way that jiggles need to function for survival, I guess. So his best survival chance is in an aquarium. They have released him before, just to preface. But he is very, very fun and great, and I love working with him. He's quite naughty. He has quite a character. He's quite a character. And our final question is, and then I will promise we'll stop. How did you feel when it wasn't very easy in your journey and people weren't listening to you? Did you ever feel like giving up? I'm very stubborn and very persistent. I don't give up very easily. But I think it's not the nicest feeling when people don't listen to you, when you're like, oh, I really want to do this, but I don't know if I'm doing it well. But that's why it comes back to that purpose and that why. And sometimes I do take a break for a couple of weeks where I'm not like going full blown, because I admit when I've got a week where I've got meetings up till midnight and I'm starting filming at like 5 a.m. in the morning, I am exhausted and it tires me out. And you sometimes just say, okay, I'm just going to take a little break over the weekend. And I just won't reply to my emails for a couple of days. And that's okay. You can't always be on. So like giving yourself a break, being kind to yourself, doing those self-care things, I think as well. I don't think I've ever felt like giving up, because it's something that I'm so passionate about. And that's why I said finding your passion and purpose, first thing to do, most important thing to do. If you have your why behind you, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many times you're like crying over how stressed you are, it's okay, it'll get there. It's always good in the end. So thank you so much for having me here today. If I didn't have a chance to answer one of your questions, you guys also have my contact details. You're all welcome to message me on Instagram or from my website. There's a contact form on my website. I have loved answering all your questions, and I'm very excited to see where all of you go with this. So do keep me updated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph. That was truly amazing and inspiring. And also, when you were talking about having people we aspire to be like, I think I speak for a lot of us here. You are definitely someone we look up to.
And I couldn't agree with Zoya more. And the way you started this at such a young age is really inspirational. Everyone, let's have a round of applause for Stephanie Evans. Make it as big as possible.
Yes, everyone, let's have the claps coming in.